dictator Stalin gave his troops the right to do whatever they want to do.
A long-lost World War II photo has resurfaced, showing Nazi soldiers capturing a mysterious woman. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, until experts zoomed in nearly 80 years later. What they discovered left them stunned. Hidden in plain sight was a shocking detail that could change everything we know about Nazi history. This chilling discovery hints at secret experiments, buried identities, and a truth the world was never meant to see. What lies behind the photo could rewrite history forever. The photograph that time forgot. In early 2023, a group of historians uncovered a black and white photo buried deep inside a forgotten Soviet archive in Kiev. The image, labeled with a vague date, 1943, and no other context, showed a chilling scene from Nazi-occupied Poland. A woman in a long coat stood between three uniformed soldiers, her eyes calm, even as rifles pointed in her direction. Behind her, a military truck stood frozen mid-motion, blurred as if time had stopped. The photo had never been published, never analyzed, and somehow slipped past decades of wartime documentation. At first glance, the image seemed like thousands of others from that era. But digital historians working with enhanced imaging software started noticing problems. The first red flag was the insignia on one soldier's sleeve, belonging to a unit officially disbanded 2 years before the photo was supposedly taken. Another anomaly was a faint glint on the woman's necklace, which reflected an odd symbol not known to appear on any known religious or cultural object from the time. These details didn't match anything in the archives, prompting further investigation. The team decided to digitally scan the photo at ultra-high resolution, a method that had previously revealed secrets in war photography. What they found deepened the mystery. The reflection on the necklace, once clarified, resembled an emblem associated with a little-known Nazi science division focused on psychological warfare.
Der Völkerstreit oder Hass untereinander, wird gepflegt von ganz bestimmten Interessenten.
Stranger still, the face of the woman didn't match any known prisoner, dissident, or resistance fighter documented in that region. Her features were oddly symmetrical, with sharp, precise bone structure not commonly seen in other archival images. Forensic analysts joined the project, applying facial recognition tools to compare her with thousands of wartime records. The result? No matches. It was as if she didn't exist before or after that moment in the photograph. To complicate matters, weather records from the day suggested clear skies, but the photo background showed overcast shadows, hinting it might have been doctored or artificially lit. Even more confusing was a reflection in a broken shop window behind the soldiers, showing what appeared to be a second photographer, though no second photo was ever found. Adding to the puzzle, the type of camera lens used to take the photo wasn't available in Eastern Europe until 1945. This raised a major question. How did a camera, seemingly ahead of its time, capture an image in 1943 Poland? Historians now speculated that the photo may have been taken under a secret Nazi program aimed at staged psychological manipulation. These programs, meant to confuse or deceive enemy intelligence, sometimes included staged events and falsified documents. If this photo was part of such an operation, then its purpose may have been far more sinister than it appeared. Digging further into German documents from the era, researchers found mentions of a project called Operation Götterblick, or God's Gaze. This operation reportedly involved capturing realistic-looking but fictionalized wartime moments to spread disinformation. The rediscovered photo bore eerie similarities to some of the only descriptions of this program. Still, this photo was never listed in any German records, leading experts to believe it may have been a test run, never intended for public release. Its presence in a Soviet archive only deepened the confusion, as Soviet officials never mentioned acquiring such an image. More evidence pointed towards something being seriously off. Clothing analysis showed the woman's coat was made of synthetic fibers, not widely produced until after 1946. Yet the photo's paper and ink passed tests confirming its production between 1942 and 1944. This left researchers with a disturbing possibility. Either someone faked the photo decades later using genuine materials, or the subject herself was out of place in time. The term chronological inconsistency started appearing in internal reports, previously used only in Cold War intelligence circles. The final anomaly came from the vehicle in the background. Military vehicle experts identified it as a rare armored transport used mostly on the Western Front, not in Poland. But more importantly, the angle of the vehicle's wheels and shadow placement suggested motion blur, inconsistent with 1940s shutter technology. This meant the photo somehow captured a level of detail impossible for its time. Theories exploded, from an experimental camera to something far more unsettling: temporal interference. By now, the image had gone from a forgotten wartime snapshot to a potential piece of lost Nazi experimentation. Its inconsistencies couldn't be written off as damage or coincidence. Experts knew something about it had to be deliberate. Whether it was a planted piece of psychological propaganda, an unsanctioned experiment, or something stranger, it was now clear the photo should not exist. And yet, it did, with a calm woman at its center, whose identity would shake every assumption about history they once held. A well-groomed woman, defiant yet serene. Who was she? Clues from a forgotten photo lead to startling truths. Who was she? The woman in the photograph has been called many things: a ghost, an enigma, a mystery from history. Her image, captured in 1943, is chilling yet captivating, revealing a figure who doesn't seem to fit the context of Nazi occupation in Poland. She stands alone, her eyes meeting the camera with defiant calm, her expression almost serene, like someone who knows far more than she lets on. In a time of such chaos and violence, this composed woman felt out of place. Historians and experts alike were puzzled. Why did she stand so tall and calm in the midst of such danger? Her appearance was even more curious. The stitching on her coat was not typical for Poland, but for Paris, a city thousands of miles away. That small detail sparked a wave of questions. Why would a well-dressed Parisian woman be caught in a photo with Nazi soldiers in occupied Poland? The more experts looked, the more inconsistencies they found. The color and style of her clothes, the quality of the fabric, everything about her looked almost foreign to the region she was in. This woman did not seem like someone from this time or place. Even more perplexing were the symbols noticed on her hidden insignia, an emblem that resembled something linked to banned Jewish resistance groups. These symbols were not meant to be seen, especially by the Nazis, who would have eradicated anyone associated with them. Was this woman a member of one of these resistance groups? Could she have been involved in espionage, sneaking critical information past Nazi forces? Or was she something more? Someone who had infiltrated the Nazis' inner circle, possibly working as a double agent? As experts zoomed into the image, they noticed something else that would change everything. A scar on her hand was visible, faint but undeniable. This scar wasn't just any mark. It seemed oddly familiar. It matched the description given by a Holocaust survivor in an unpublished memoir. Someone who recalled a mysterious woman from the same time period. Could this be the same woman? Or was it just a strange coincidence? The memoir was not widely circulated, and the survivor's testimony had never been fully investigated until now. The connection between the scar and the woman in the photo created a direct link to a forgotten chapter of World War II.
Feldzuges genauso planmäßig verlaufen sei, wie in Polen, in Norwegen, im Westen oder auf dem Balkan.
The survivor had described this woman as someone who operated in the shadows, assisting the resistance during the darkest days of the war. Was this woman the same person? As these theories began to swirl, the mystery deepened. Was she a spy for the Allies, operating covertly behind enemy lines? Or was she part of a resistance network, gathering vital intelligence to sabotage Nazi operations? Some even began to speculate that she might have been a leader in the underground resistance movement, a figure so elusive that her name had been lost to time. But even with all the theories, no one could say for sure. Another strange possibility emerged. Could she have been a double agent? The idea of someone working for both sides wasn't new, but the circumstances of her capture suggested that this woman had more than just military expertise. There was an aura of purpose in her composure, like someone who had made a calculated decision to endure the torture and peril that came with this line of work. If she had played both sides, she would have been one of the most dangerous women in history, with the ability to deceive both Nazi forces and the resistance alike. But the mystery didn't stop there. As forensic analysts continued to dig deeper, they found even more startling information. Some experts believe the woman may have had access to top-secret Nazi military plans. How could such a woman have remained undetected for so long? What other roles did she play in this tangled web of war, espionage, and betrayal? The more the story of this woman unfolded, the more her identity became crucial to understanding the broader narrative of the war. Was she an unsung hero, whose actions were too sensitive to reveal at the time? Or was she an enigma whose true purpose would never be fully known? What was certain was that the woman in the photograph was far more than just a bystander in history. She was a participant in the shadows, someone whose life had remained hidden for far too long. The search for her identity didn't just spark curiosity about one woman's fate. It raised questions about how many others had lived and died in the margins of history, their stories untold, their faces unseen. The photo had resurfaced, but would the woman's identity be revealed? Would the pieces of her story finally fall into place? Or would she remain a figure in the background, her role forever shrouded in mystery? Shadow War. After months of searching, a breakthrough finally came in the form of a name, Adelina Koenig. She wasn't just anyone. She was a multilingual Jewish woman who had managed to pull off one of the most dangerous acts of deception during World War II. By day, she worked as a Nazi translator, assisting with logistics and military communications. But by night, her true identity came to light as an undercover agent feeding vital intelligence to the Allies and the resistance. This double life, hidden in plain sight, made her one of the most remarkable figures of espionage during the war. Her job was dangerous and interesting. Because she worked for the Nazis and was trusted, she had access to important information that could have changed the course of the war. Because of her position, she was able to listen in on conversations and send them to the Allies. Adelina organized underground rescue routes for Jewish children all over Europe, which saved many lives. She also kept military secrets safe. Adelina and her group of resistance fighters worked hard to get these kids out of areas controlled by the Nazis and into safer places. There were more risks for Adelina with her double life as the war went on. Both sides wanted to kill her because she was a dangerous woman who could change the balance of power with one lie. Her name was on Adolf Hitler's personal list of people he wanted to kill, and it was marked for execution. The Führer saw her as a traitor who was a threat to the Nazi government and thought she should be killed. She was always afraid of being caught, so her survival depended on people paying close attention all the time. In spite of this, she never wavered in her commitment to her cause and kept working. However, things turned dark as the Allies got closer. People in her inner circle were thought to be betraying her. Was that a different agent? Someone who had been hacked or was afraid of being found out? She began to doubt everything when she thought someone might tell everyone who she really was. Even though she had carefully planned, it looked like the spy network she was a part of would eventually fall apart, which would be very bad. Then, For some reason, Adelina's trail went cold in the last few months of 1943. Not any more rumors about what she does. It looked like she had vanished into thin air. For the next few months, no one could find her, and her name was taken out of many intelligence reports. She was caught, right? Or did she still exist but hide from the Nazis and her own people? The questions about where she went only added to the mystery, making her case one of the most elusive in wartime spying. How had things gone for Adelina Koenig? Had the Nazis betrayed her, killed her, or worse, taken her hostage? It was said that she had just barely gotten away and was still working under a fake name. Others thought her job wasn't done, and that she had been silenced for good. People didn't remember her name as much as they used to, but the things she did were still remembered. However, the mystery surrounding her disappearance left a troubling gap in the Resistance's story. Adelina's story is so interesting because no one knows why she went missing. It looked like her life was gone as quickly as it had been found. What happened at the end of 1943 that made this skilled double agent disappear? Did someone betray her? Or did she manage to get away from everyone by disappearing into the underground world she knew so well? We still don't know the answers, but one thing is certain. Adelina Koenig was more than just a picture of a woman. She stood for defiance because she put everything at risk for a cause she believed in. Her story makes us think about all the heroes of World War II who aren't recognized. How many other resistance fighters, agents, and spies like her were forgotten, and no one knew what they did? For people who were against the Nazi government, Adelina's story is a sobering reminder of how thin the line between life and death was. It's only because she vanished that the myth about her amazing double life became stronger. Historians and scholars will be fascinated by her legacy for years to come. Even after all these years, Adelina Koenig is still a mysterious person, but no one can deny her power. Because she was brave and smart, she was very important in the fight against the Nazis. People will always remember her as a spy who worked for both sides until both sides wanted her dead. The question of what happened to her may never be fully answered. The zoomed-in photo reveals a Nazi doctor's face and a secret project. Could this be a cover-up too dark? The face in the glass. In 2023, another ordinary archival photograph, once dismissed as just another image of wartime tragedy, was revisited with the help of cutting-edge technology. The image, taken in 1943, showed a woman standing in front of 3 Nazi soldiers. But what was truly uncovered wasn't just a woman's image. It was a chilling piece of history that no one expected. Forensic technology and image-enhancing AI were used to zoom in on the blurry details of the background, and that's when things took an eerie turn. In the reflection of the car window behind the woman, an unexpected face slowly came into focus. What experts saw was a familiar one. The face of Dr. Heinrich Falk, a Nazi doctor notorious for his involvement in mind control experiments. Dr. Falk, who had vanished in 1945, was a name tied to some of the darkest chapters of Nazi medical experimentation. He was known for conducting horrific psychological experiments and mind control trials on prisoners, and his disappearance after the war had left many questions unanswered. The AI-enhanced zoom revealed his unmistakable features staring back at the camera, sending shockwaves through historians and forensic experts. After further analysis using advanced facial recognition software, it was confirmed with a chilling 94% accuracy. The face in the window belonged to Dr. Heinrich Falk. This revelation raised the stakes of the image significantly. The photograph wasn't just a historical document, it seemed to tell a much darker, hidden story. The discovery was unsettling, but it also suggested something far more sinister. Was this woman, Adelina Koenig, really being captured as initially assumed? Or was she being taken for another, more horrifying reason? Experts began to consider a new theory. Adelina wasn't just a prisoner in that moment. She was being brought in to be erased. Given the presence of Dr. Falk, known for his experimentation on human minds, the idea that she was part of a secret Nazi project seemed more likely than ever. The theory now suggested that she was not merely a victim of war, she was a subject, one meant to be erased from memory, perhaps as part of a covert project meant to control or manipulate minds. But the shocking findings didn't stop there. As the zoom-in continued, another detail emerged from the image, a faint but distinct label on a file tucked inside Adelina's coat pocket. The blurred text, partially obscured by her hand, became clearer with digital enhancement. It read, Project Morgenlicht, which translates to Project Daylight. This cryptic phrase suggested that Adelina was involved in something far more dangerous than espionage. Project Daylight wasn't a known Nazi initiative, and the name alone raised more questions than answers. Was it a psychological experiment, a mind control operation, or perhaps an attempt to create a new kind of human weapon, one who could be erased and rebuilt as a completely new person? The implications of this discovery were staggering. Project Morgenlicht had the potential to unlock a hidden layer of the Nazi regime's war crimes, a dark and forgotten chapter of scientific experimentation. Could the Nazis have been working on plans to erase the identities of people like Adelina, turning them into blank slates for their own twisted purposes? If this was true, it would explain why Adelina's name had seemingly vanished from history. It wasn't that she was caught, it was that she had been forcibly wiped out of memory, her true identity and mission erased from the records. The photo that had once seemed like just a simple wartime image now held the potential to uncover a conspiracy that no one had ever suspected. This discovery also cast a long shadow on the story of Adelina herself. Could she have been a victim of this Nazi mind control project, an agent who had been used, manipulated, and discarded? Or was she a willing participant in something much darker, a woman who had known the risks and chosen to play both sides? Whatever the truth, the evidence pointed to a complex and terrifying scenario, one where the lines between loyalty, betrayal, and survival were blurred beyond recognition. The chilling details from the photo made it clear that Adelina's fate was far more entwined with Nazi secrets than anyone had imagined. The presence of Dr. Falk and the mysterious file labeled Project Daylight suggested that there was far more to her story than anyone knew. It was a revelation that turned the once simple image into a key piece of a much larger puzzle, one that was still waiting to be fully uncovered. This photograph, captured in 1943, wasn't just a snapshot of a captured woman. It was a window into a covert world of psychological warfare, mind control, and a Nazi regime's chilling experiments that had remained hidden for decades. The Nazi experiment that disappeared. Project Daylight is a chilling theory that suggests the Nazis weren't only focused on traditional warfare. Instead, they were creating a psychological warfare program aimed at manipulating memories and erasing identities. This program allegedly involved testing certain individuals by attempting to brainwash them, erasing their sense of self, and rewriting their realities. It was an experiment designed to break the human mind and control it. The ultimate goal? To create loyal subjects who could be molded into whatever the Nazis needed, without resistance, without past, without a sense of who they truly were. Dr. Heinrich Falk, whose involvement in mind control experiments during World War II is well documented, left behind a set of disturbing notes. Found in Brazil in the 1970s, these notes made several references to a female subject with unbreakable cognitive defenses. Falk's writings describe this subject as a person who resisted every attempt to rewrite her memories or erase her identity. Historians have pointed to this as a possible reference to Adelina Koenig, the woman in the infamous photograph. Her resistance to brainwashing, it seems, made her a prime target for elimination by the Nazis, leading to her disappearance after the photograph was taken. The theories surrounding Adelina's involvement in Project Daylight begin to make sense when we look at the timeline. After this particular image was taken, all records of her vanished. No one could find any trace of her in the official documents or Nazi records, as if she had been erased from history. The disappearance of Adelina's name from the historical record raises further suspicion. Could it be that she was part of the Nazis' secret program? Someone they had to silence in order to cover up the failure of their experiment? A strange twist in the story emerged in 1951 when the CIA debriefed Nazi defectors about the activities of former Nazi officers. In the debriefing, a brief mention of Adelina was made. The mention wasn't specific, but it suggested that she might have survived the war under a different name. This fleeting reference hints at the possibility that she could have lived on, perhaps even in hiding, with her true identity concealed. It raised new questions. If Adelina survived, was she still living in secret, perhaps even in a different country, using a name that was not her own? The mention of her name in the 1951 debriefing offers a potential clue that she might not have been as completely erased from history as once believed. Could she have used an alias to blend into post-war society, evading detection by those who would still be searching for her? Was there a chance that she escaped the Nazi regime's wrath and lived out the rest of her life, free from the manipulation of Project Daylight? This small but important mention ignited a spark of hope that Adelina's story might not end with her disappearance from the historical record. Perhaps her tale wasn't buried forever. It might still be waiting to be uncovered. Looking back at the photo and the small details it contains, there's a sense of tragic irony. Adelina's story, which could have been lost forever, has been brought back to light by one simple photograph. It's as if the Nazis tried to erase her from history completely, but something remained, something they couldn't control. This photograph, with its eerie details and chilling reflections, became the key to unlocking a piece of the past that was meant to be forgotten. It's a testament to how history sometimes resists being erased, how even in the darkest corners, something survives to tell the truth. While we may never fully uncover all the details of Adelina's life, the evidence points to her being much more than just a victim in a photo. She was part of something much bigger, a covert operation that sought to manipulate human minds. Project Daylight, if it existed, was just one piece of a much larger puzzle involving espionage, psychological experiments, and the tragic toll of war. Adelina's resistance to the Nazis' attempts to break her will makes her a symbol of survival, someone who defied the odds in a time of unimaginable cruelty. And though her story is filled with mystery, one thing is certain: she was a part of something that could have changed the course of history, had it not been for the shadows that tried to swallow her whole. A 98-year-old survivor watches a forgotten photo. DNA confirms she survived. The story they tried to bury is finally told. The woman who outlived a regime. The following year, a 98-year-old woman in Buenos Aires watched a documentary on the mysterious photo of a woman with defiant eyes. As the image flashed on her TV screen, she collapsed in shock. The woman recognized the face. It was Adelina, the same person she had known years ago. DNA testing later confirmed it. Against all odds, Adelina had survived the war, hiding for decades under a new name, evading the Nazis, and living in secret. For years, her family had no idea. They thought she had disappeared into the dark corners of history, lost forever to the past. But in a twist of fate, the truth was revealed. She had been living under an assumed identity, quietly blending into post-war society. After escaping a Nazi black site in Austria in 1944, Adelina vanished, leaving behind no trace, and no one suspected she was still alive. Her ability to survive, to outlive the regime that hunted her, is a remarkable testament to her strength and resilience. What followed the discovery was even more startling: a handwritten journal. This journal, recovered posthumously, revealed chilling details about Adelina's life after the war. She had meticulously documented the horrors of Project Daylight, the experiments the Nazis had conducted on her, and the brutal men who hunted her. She also described the intense fear she felt during the photo session, knowing that it could be the last moment of her life captured. The journal also clarified a crucial detail: that photo was not a moment of capture. It was a moment of resistance, a defiant stand against the men who sought to erase her. Adelina's final words in her journal are haunting. "They took everything," she wrote, "but I left them one thing they could never bury: the truth." It's a powerful statement about the one thing the Nazis could never control or destroy: the truth. Throughout her life, no matter what was done to her, the truth of what she witnessed, endured, and fought for remained intact. In the end, it was her legacy, her personal story, and the truths she held that lived on. The photo, once just a historical relic, now stands as proof of her remarkable life. It's no longer simply an image of a woman captured in time. It's evidence of an incredible journey of survival, secrecy, and resilience. It is also a stark reminder that some stories cannot be erased, no matter how hard history tries. In 2024, the world finally began to understand the weight of that image and what it really represented. Now, we must ask ourselves, how many other truths are locked in photos, buried in the past, and waiting to be uncovered? How many untold stories remain hidden behind the faces frozen in time, whose lives we never truly understood? The mystery of Adelina Koenig's legacy, and the truth she carried with her, serves as a powerful call to explore what has been forgotten and what remains to be revealed. As we peel back the layers of history, we find that the past still holds many secrets, and some truths are just too important to remain buried. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more amazing content.